What is a sentence? How would you define a sentence? It's a fairly simple question, right? Every single phrase you write, type, obviously takes the form of a sentence. What is it? How would you define it? Most students at GCSE level, and actually even beyond that, students who go on to take A levels, go on to take degree certifications, most students are unable to answer this one, obviously very basic question. What is a sentence? The answer is that you will get people will think about it, and if you've had the chance to think about it, you might say something along the lines of, you begin with a capital letter, you end with a full stop. It's a series of words. It's an idea. All of these things are valid responses, but they don't define what is a sentence, what a sentence is. Grammatically speaking, a sentence is a subject and a verb. Grammatically speaking, a sentence is a subject and a verb. If you don't have a subject or you don't have a clear verb, you don't have a sentence. It's a very simple rule. It's one of the most basic rules in language, but most students are unaware of it. And the ignorance here leads to so many unnecessary mistakes. Maybe that single piece of understanding or lack of understanding is responsible for more mistakes in written work than anything else. It's amazing. I'm not going to go into what a subject is and what a verb is in this particular video. You can get that on my course, or if you want to find out more about that, you can email me, tuition@lawrenceexplains.com. But what I want to talk about a little bit more is these very simple, straightforward things that students are unaware of and have been unaware of actually now for many decades. So I've put 2023, but students 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20, 25 years ago were the same. And it's because the way of structuring education has changed. There was a decision made, I'm not exactly sure when, I believe it was pre-1980s, so quite some time ago now, that we were no longer going to teach young people or children grammar rigorously up to 16. We'll do it a little bit early in secondary school, but beyond that, we're going to focus on the higher level things, the literature, the comprehension, the abstract ideas. And the consequent result of this has been students consistently coming out of education unable to form basic sentences. And even if they can, usually it's by luck or just by the fact we are very intelligent creatures as human beings. Our minds are able to adapt to stimulus very well. So most people, myself included, learn a reasonable level of writing just through kind of osmosis. You practice and you read other writers, and that is an effective way to learn. But to give you a greater level of security in your writing, you need to know the basic rules of language. Let me give you another example. What would be the 4 situations in which you would use a comma? 4 situations in which you would use a comma. Most people, again, don't really know how to use commas. They just kind of say it's for a pause, it's for a bit of a break in the sentence. They don't really know how to use them. So a comma is used for a list. It's used to create a parenthesis. It's used to begin a new clause. And there's one other. It's used after an introductory adverb or an introductory phrase. So those are the four instances in which you need to use a comma, and that will cover 99% of your use of comma. In my case, it covers 100. I never use a comma outside of those four instances. Most people are not aware of this. I'm not going to explain each of those situations here, but the issue is on every single point of punctuation, on every single point of grammar, people just don't know the rules. Or just don't know the rules. And so when they go to write, there's this insecurity, there's this hesitation. They don't actually know how things work. And of course, the end result is work with errors in, work that is suboptimal, sentence length that is too long, sentence breakdown. And if this sounds like I've been negative towards students, absolutely that is not the case at all. I'm being negative to the way in which they have been educated, the lack of rigor when it comes to grammar, sentence construction. English is not a complicated subject. It is not. It is not a woolly subject. It's not a subject that requires talent. It's not. There's not really much ambiguity there. The language has a clear structure. People just don't know it because they're not taught it. That's the problem. And so around about 10 years ago, I began to see these patterns in all of my English students. What was interesting was I began to work with students from the UK in the same way I was working with international students who were foreign students. They weren't natives of English. With those students, with the foreign students, we do a lot of work on basic grammar, on the rules of English, and get them up to a standard, because obviously they're foreigners coming in to the language. They can't learn through osmosis because they're not getting anywhere near the exposure. They've got to learn the rules. And what I found over time was it wasn't uncommon to see some foreign students writing with a greater level of accuracy than English students, which is frankly it's an absurd thing to encounter, but it is what I encountered. And it wasn't that these students from a different country, they weren't any brighter than English students or anything like that. And indeed, you don't need to be bright at all, really, to know these rules and to apply them. Okay, they're fairly simple. But the issue is people just don't know them and they don't apply them. Yeah, this was just it sounds like a bit of a rant, but it's something I think is very important. Students don't know the basics. We go on to look at Shakespeare, we go on to look at poetry, we go on to look at all these abstract things. They're doing essays, they're doing creative writing. But if you do not know the basics, there's a limit to how far your creativity and your abstract thinking skills are going to take you. So I would advocate every student needs to get back to basics, learn the fundamentals of grammar, learn the fundamentals, sentence construction, paragraph construction, punctuation. Learn all of these basics so that you know the rules and you're able to recognize your own errors when you do make them. So I take a very structured approach in my work. I run a course for students to prepare them for the English language GCSE, whether it's a first sitting or a resit. And I take a very rigorous approach with this, with very good results, to be honest. And a lot of students who come away from the course feel that there's a level of grounding you have when you're able to actually fully understand your own language. There's a level of certainty that you gain when you actually know you're writing in a way that is correct. You understand the language, and a level of confidence that also comes with that as well, whether that's in further study or whether that's just going into your working life. So that's the approach I take. I also have a course that teaches you this for independently. So if you wish to learn independently at a very favorable cost to yourself, a very low cost basically, then I also have a course that is designed specifically for this. And students have got a lot from this course, and it really puts them in the picture, understanding how to use the English language, how to construct things. So yeah, it's basically a science. Effectively, that's how I see the English language. It is a science. And maybe on a high level, there's some artistic elements, but you've got to learn the basic science first of all. You'll learn the rules before you can break them. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on this live. You need to learn the rules, you need to learn the basics, and too many students do not know the basics. So if you're getting up to your GCSEs, take a look at my website, www.lawrenceexplains.com. Email me if you want to get hold of the course. It will be super useful to you, to be honest with you. Can't make anybody do the course, but it's so useful. And every student who goes through gives me similar feedback, um, particularly actually research students, because research students sometimes GCSE students, year 10s and 11s, they can just be a little bit complacent because they're still quite young. Research students are obviously a little bit older, and they really, really do want to make sure that they get it this time around. And it's probably research students to get the most out of this because they're so much more focused. So if you are resitting, there are tools out there that can assist you and take you on to achieve your goals on this exam, and then you can go on and get on with your life. So we will leave things there. Enjoy the rest of the week.